For our first step spoiler review, there's a lot to talk about. This is your official spoiler warning, so do not move forward if you have not seen the movie. And let's just get right into it. I saw the movie last night. Go check out my out of theater reaction if you've not seen the movie yet. And let's just start with the aesthetic of the movie. My favorite thing about the movie, one of the most genius decisions that the MCU's ever made, is putting this movie in this retro future universe, what they call Earth 828, which we find out in the beginning of the movie as it starts. And just right off the bat, everything about this movie looks so cool and so like 60s ish, but also modern. I love the tech. I love the branding. It's actually meta because it's, they're known in the universe as the Fantastic Four. They have kind of their own brand in the movie, but their costumes, like the merch that they're going to be able to sell, I want to buy. Like, this is the first time I left an MCU movie. Like, I really want to buy this merch. I love like the colors, kind of like the what, not white. I guess it's like a shade of white, more like vanilla, with the light blue. I just love these costumes. The one thing I didn't love, though, off the bat, they didn't do the traditional Marvel theme, which I was kind of hoping for. I always love getting that in the theater. But then just getting into the spoilers of the movie, the thing I loved most is we knew they weren't going to do an origin story, similar to Superman, which I'll compare to later on. But what they did was they still gave us context, which Superman didn't do. And I keep comparing. I think it's hard not to compare the two movies. But, I don't think the Fantastic Four's origin story is that interesting. It's a waste of time to do it. So they kind of just talked about it. They didn't even show it. We kind of got some audio of them screaming in the background. And they used this talk show to kind of, as a tool to give us the backstory. And they showed us essentially highlights of the Fantastic Four saving people and being really heroic. And I really liked this. Like, the first act was so good at this movie. Just the combination of the aesthetic with the superhero stuff, just flex their powers. It's so easy. They had the Thing tugging the gigantic boat. They had Johnny Storm saving people and making the four in the sky. Reed Richards just stretching people. They had him fighting like these gorillas, which was John Malkovich's character, and they mentioned him. I think Red Ghost is his name, I believe. I don't know too much about him, but I know he was in this movie and they cut him out. You can tell they really edited this movie down. I read that they spent a lot of time fine-tuning this movie. They put this through a lot of test screenings, and it felt a little bit like it was edited and choppy, but not too much. Certainly not like Captain America 4. Pedro Pascal was good. I still would have preferred, I feel like Adam Driver would have been perfect here. Even Penn Badgley was someone who really, really kind of piqued my interest when I heard him. I know Oscar Isaac can't be Mr. Fantastic because he's Moon Knight, but even I think he would have been good. But Pedro Pascal was certainly good. I just think he's so overexposed right now that you know him from so many other things. I really think the standout, though, for me was Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn and Vanessa Kirby, I think, were both really, really good. They're going to be mainstays in the MCU for a long time. Vanessa Kirby has really good experience for this. She's been in the Mission Impossible franchise. She's been in the Fast and Furious franchise. So she's been in these types of movies before. Not as much action here, but I thought her acting was really good. The second act of this movie was so good. They go and essentially go into space and go to Galactus's ship. He lives in like this big, huge ship, and you're probably thinking, oh, it's stupid because he's so big, how can he be in a ship? But this ship is gigantic, it can fit him. And the first thing I loved about this sequence was the space stuff was really cool. I thought it was way more immersive, like sci-fi-ish, Star Wars-ish. Maybe not Star Wars-ish, like Star Trek-y, and different than the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of space travel, where it's like, obviously it's CGI, but this just seemed way more immersive to me. And they had this awesome sequence where they go through like almost like a Star Wars hyperspace ring, and they use it, the same ship that we saw at the end of the Thunderbolts in the post-credit scene, and they use this to kind of go to Galactus to kind of basically talk to him. They don't even know at this point what Galactus is, or that he's as big as he is, or really what he is. But they do know the Silver Surfer. I'll get to her in a minute. And Essentially, he asked for the baby. Again, this drove me insane that they gave away this plot point in the trailers. Totally unnecessary. This would have been like a huge twist of the movie. Franklin Richards, who in the comic books is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel. He essentially can just like manipulate reality, and oftentimes Galactus and Doctor Doom are constantly trying to get him to use his powers. I believe he might have healing powers, which maybe he used at the end of the movie. I think they refer to that. I'll get to that later. But essentially, they say no, and then there's this. I think the best part of the movie is this escape sequence. They're trying to escape out of his ship to get back home, and they're being chased by the Silver Surfer, and her powers look awesome, and she's chasing them through the hyperspace ring, and then Johnny is shooting this plasma gun at her, very similar to Star Wars, like when they're in the Millennium Falcon, and it's just an awesome sequence. It's so good. The Silver Surfer, played by Julia Garner, I was about to say Jennifer Garner, who I believe she was just in that movie, that werewolf movie last year, Wolfman, but she also, I believe, is known from Ozark and some other things. She does a really good job. People freak out about the gender thing, but it's not a big deal at all. We're going to get Norrin Rad. I just think they didn't want to waste him in this movie and kind of leave some bullets in the gun. They give her a little bit of a backstory about her, a couple scenes, how she kind of sacrificed her life to save her planet and become the Silver Surfer. They do kind of like a brief love interest thing, but it's really just for jokes between her and Johnny, which I thought was funny. And that's kind of the second act. The third act of this movie, which I thought was the weakest, was Galactus coming to Earth. Now that was really cool. I thought that was so cool. There's a scene where he kind of stands up and he kind of looks at the Statue of Liberty and kind of smirks. I thought that was really cool. It also kind of was the perfect use to show the scale of him and how much bigger he is by using the Statue of Liberty. And, pretty good. I like the good thing about this movie is they didn't make the plot so deep, but they did address some holes where they had, Mole Man, who's in this movie a little bit. I wish they Mole Man was in this movie, but they never really showed his powers or like any of his tech. He's just kind of like a jokey guy. Stingray from Cobra Kai. So if you're a Cobra Kai fan, you'll probably like this. And he basically hides all of the people underground. So that's kind of their excuse for there not being collateral damage when they're kind of fighting Galactus. And their plan is their first original plan is to move the Earth, so Galactus can't find them. But the Silver Surfer kind of basically, this is also a cool scene, goes around the Earth in like 10 seconds and destroys all of the like pillars that they built for this. And so their new plan is to essentially lure Galactus to Earth, and then they're going to teleport him to somewhere out in space. Now, I was really hoping, this is my biggest problem with the movie, although I really like it, I was hoping Galactus was going to win. I think this is the Kang problem all over again. Not as bad as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but you can't have Galactus, your biggest villain, take an L. I just think it's stupid. They didn't really have him take an L, but they eventually had Sue Storm push him through the portal using her powers, and then Ben Grimm kind of helped, and then Johnny kind of helped, and then Johnny was going to sacrifice himself to push him through, and the Silver Surfer pushed him out of the way, and then pushed Galactus through the portal, and that's how the movie ends. Really, really, serviceable ending, but I didn't like Galactus taking an L. I thought for sure Galactus was going to win. He was going to eat this planet, and then they were going to have to save themselves by teleporting to the MCU. I think that would have been a much better ending to kind of end this on a sad note, but that's not how it went at all. Mid-credit scene, a huge kind of reveal. Doctor Doom. We don't get Robert Downey Jr., but we do get Doom in the MCU finally. She's kind of playing with Franklin Richards. It's 4 years later. It flashes 4 years later. And this is honestly annoying thing in the crowd is everyone read it out loud. I don't know why everyone had to read it. Like everyone was like, 4 years. Like I don't know. It's just there. Just read it anyway. We're getting. She's playing with the baby. She leaves him. She goes to another room. She comes back. She kind of senses someone's in the room, and she kind of there's like a column in the middle of the room. The camera pans around the column, and you see Doctor Doom kind of there. You don't see his face. You just see the green hood. He's kind of on one knee, his mask is off. He's holding his mask, and Franklin Richards' hand is like touching his face. So I think he knows about some of these healing powers. And one thing that I missed from the ending of the movie was Sue Storm was going to be dead at the end. She was kind of knocked out. Reed Richards is trying to do CPR on her, and they kind of just accept that she's dead until Franklin Richards climbs on her, and basically she wakes up. So I think he also has healing powers, is what they're alluding to. And, those are the big spoilers, the big plot of the movie. When I talk about, one thing's a little bit confusing is the end of the Thunderbolts. Spoiler, if you haven't seen the end of the Thunderbolts, is the post-credit scene in that movie as we see the Fantastic Four ship come into the universe. So I thought that was going to mean Galactus was going to win. I think what that means now is I think Doom is just going to wreck their shit. And I think either they're going to put Franklin on that ship and send him alone, or they're all going to be on that ship. And so I wonder if Doomsday... I hope Doomsday isn't just all about them protecting Franklin Richards, because that would be really annoying. We've gotten... Squid Games was just about that. Last of Us, Mandalorian. Everything it seems like is just about some small person in danger, some kid in danger, and just protecting them. So I hope that's not the plot. But, yeah, sorry, that was my stomach growling. But I'm just very curious about what they're going to do here. Yeah, I'm curious. I think this would have hit way more if they had Downey show his face, or even Doom speak a little bit, or have Doom do something. But again, it's still a pretty good mid-credit scene. The post-credit scene, I don't think is worth staying around for. It's a little bit more jokey, but if you don't care, then stick around. But with that being said, and I guess ending it, did I like this movie more than Superman? I've only seen both movies one time. Just straight off the top gut feeling, yeah, I think I did. Unfortunately, I care more about Superman and those characters than the Fantastic Four, but this was just a cohesive movie, and I just really, really liked what they did with it. I liked the aesthetic, and I think, they say, oh, we can just get dropped into this world in Superman with no context. I think they drop us into this world way better in this movie, and they just do a way better job of kind of just making us care about these characters, giving us backstory, doing it really efficiently. And I think the aesthetic just really helped. Ben Grimm also is one thing I guess I didn't mention. He did a really good job. Eben Moss Backrack, I think he looked good. There were a couple CGI scenes that were a little wonky, but overall really cool. He'll be in the MCU for a long time. Kind of probably take over that Drax role, where he's kind of the big, strong guy, but also funny. Although hopefully not as jokey, because he does have, he is a good character. I don't want them to ruin him with pure comedy. But yeah, looking forward to the MCU. This is the last MCU movie, I think, until Doomsday. Maybe Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out before, but I don't think so. I think it comes out in between. So pretty crazy, but I'm glad that we're getting a break now. Although it'll be less for me to review. We can talk about a lot of stuff. I can, watch some older movies, and there's plenty of us to talk about. But this gap between now and Doomsday, I think, is actually important. It builds hype. And I think we need that. I don't want them to just keep releasing stuff up until Doomsday. There's so much shows coming up like Wonder Man, Eyes Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, so other stuff I'll cover. But if you've gotten this far into the review, thank you so much for watching the whole review. I really appreciate it. Hit subscribe. I'll have a lot more stuff coming. Thanks everyone for watching, and as always, I'll see you at the movies.